Once again, this is Frank Ramirez. Today I'm going to be doing an arranging video on voice parts for mariachi, right? So this is going to be pretty general. You could use this for other voice parts, like writing in lyrics for classical music, stuff like that. So it's going to be a pretty general video. Anyone can benefit from this, but this is going to be in context to how I would use it in mariachi, right? So let me just go ahead and explain why it's important to use voice parts in mariachi, why it's important to write them in. So like let's say for example you have an arrangement or a transcription and there's no voice part, right? Let's say it's very unique and it's not inspired or based off of a recording that already exists, right? So a director or any group is going to have issues finding where the voice comes in, right? So you're going to spend like 10 minutes trying to figure out where to fit in a voice part or where the entrance for the vocals is. And sometimes people will be like a measure or 2 measures off, right? So you're going to waste time, right? You don't want to waste time during your rehearsals. You want to have a good, solid foundation of how the piece is going to sound, right? So you need to be able to see everything. You want to see the voice part. Writing in the melody, just the melody, that's okay, right? Usually when I write in voice parts, I write it straight. I don't add ornamentation or anything like that, right? I just write it straight. I'll leave it up to the singer to add ornamentation, right? Unless you want something specific, like, yeah, use this ornament or do this, start riffing here or whatever. You'd write it in. But I usually just write the parts straight, especially if it's a pretty traditional song, right? I'll usually write the parts in straight, okay? One more thing before I get started is writing in lyrics, right? You want to write in lyrics. Sometimes you could just write in the melody, but sometimes that's not enough, right? If you want specific lyrics to be used and for there to be no question about when to sing those lyrics, you go ahead and just write them in, right? Then if you don't, let's say for example, there's like 3 or 4 different artists that sing the same song, right? And they change the verses from artist to artist, but the chorus is the same. If you want there to be no question about which verse to use, you write it in, right? So here I'm going to go ahead and show you how to write in lyrics on MuseScore. I'm using MuseScore obviously because this is what a lot of your students will use if you're teachers. So it's good to understand how to use MuseScore. That way you could teach them, right? So I'm going to go into this first note, right? I'm going to click on this first note, this B flat. And the way I write in lyrics, if I'm using Mac, I'm going to hold the command key, right? Hold command. And on Windows, it's going to be control. So you would hold your control key and then I'm going to click L, right? So this is going to open up this space right here at the bottom where I can type in my lyrics. And now what I would do is I would just type as if I was typing normally. So let me just go ahead and write this, right? And then right here, I want to move to another word, right? This is already one word on this note. I want to go ahead and move into another note, right? This, I'm going to press the space bar, is space bar A, space bar, voice, space bar part, right? So I'm using the space bar just like as if I was typing normally. It's just pretty basic, right? So if you notice now, I have a repeat sign. That means I'm going to go back to the beginning, right? Repeat sign. Am I going to sing this first line again or do I want something else, right? So if I want it to be a different verse the second time, right? I'm going to go back. I'm going to repeat the process. Command or control, right? Command L. I'm going to put this space is, and look, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to press spacebar twice on purpose. So I just missed where that lyric should be, right? What I can do is I can use the arrow keys to navigate back to that note. So I'm going to use the left arrow key and watch what happens. You see, I just moved back. So I can use the arrow keys to navigate. Alright, so this one's going to be, this is the voice part. Okay, so it's different now, right? So the first time I'm going to sing the top part. Second time through, I'm going to sing the same notes, but I'm just going to sing the second line, right? So this is the voice part, right? And let's say I made a mistake. I would just double click on the lyrics and and I would change something, right? If I wanted to change something, right? This, whatever, right? And if I made a mistake in the second line, I would just go down, and I could use the arrow keys as I mentioned before, right? Okay, so that's inputting lyrics, right? It's pretty basic, right? Now I'm gonna move over to this side. Right here, I transcribed La Llorona. La Llorona is what's known as a public domain song, right? So just as long as it's not like something stolen from another arrangement or a copyrighted version, I can use the melody of La Llorona, right? I can use that without any legal issues. So let's say you had like a traditional folk song that you wanted to arrange, right? As long as it's in the public domain, you could pretty much publish it, right? Without any legal issues. But let's say there's a popular song by that was recorded by an artist that you want to use, right? You can't really use that without permission from the publisher, right? So that's when you go to the publisher, ask for permission to use that copyrighted work, and then you can arrange it, and you'd probably publish it through their service, right? So once again, La Llorona, it's just the melody and the chords, public domain, right? Nothing from another arrangement. So what I'm gonna do now is we're gonna analyze this together, and I'm just gonna walk you through some things that we would do as far as vocals. So right here, if you notice, we have, instead of just one word per note, we have syllables. So we have salias, right? How do we separate between syllables? We use dashes. So let me go ahead and show you how to do that. So let me just go ahead and delete these two words, right? So we're gonna go here, Command L, right? And notice how I'm on the second line. I'm just gonna use the arrow key to go up. So now we have sa. I'm gonna use the dash key, li, dash key. Now we have salias, right? If you notice in the second line, no sé, this is one word, but it's being sustained between three notes, right? So right here, what I would do, I would just type in sé, and then my dash and my underline key are on the same key for my keyboard, right? So I'm going to press shift, hold down shift, and then use the underline. You see how I just underlined it once? I'm going to want to do it 2 more times for each note, right? There we go. So now the singer would see that this is going to be sustained, right? We're going to sustain this word or this syllable for these notes. If you notice right here, these notes line up, but now I have this syllable when there's nothing here, and that's why I have this parentheses, right? This is being sustained, but I have to sing another syllable on the first line. So that's why I have this parentheses here, so that way the singer knows, okay, when I sing it this time, I'm going to sing this note as this syllable, and it's going to be separated, but then I'm going to sustain it the rest of the way. Salias, right? Instead of just like sali, right? It's going to be salias, right? And then this one's just no sé, and then you sustain it, right? Okay, so that's why I have that parentheses that way. That's how you transcribe that. If you notice right here on the very next part, we have de un, right? De un is not a word. De un, right? From one. From a, right? From a temple. Salías de un templo, right? De un, right? So right here we have what looks like a slur or a tie marking, right? In lyrics or in text, right? This symbol is used to tie 2 words or syllables together, right? And it's called an elision. Elision, right? So the way we do that in MuseScore is we go into properties. We're going to select wherever we want it to go, right? You see how I have the line in between the two words where I want the elision to go? I'm going to go over to properties now, and I'm going to click insert special characters right here at the bottom. Insert special characters, and then we're going to find elisions, right? There's a narrow elision, there's a normal elision, and then there's the wide elision. I usually use the narrow one just so it keeps it small and legible. So I use the narrow elision. And you see I have the elision placed in now. So now they're gonna know de un, right? And they're gonna just sing it on this note, right? Salías de un, right? Salías de un, right? Okay, moving on. If we move over here now, you notice that we have a slur, but it's kind of an odd looking slur, right? If you've never really transcribed vocals, if you're an instrumentalist, you might see this as an odd looking slur. So this just means that we have to look at our voice part and see when exactly we're going to use that slur. So if you notice, right here we have a word and it's being sustained. But then we move to the second line and we notice that we're singing two different syllables on each note, right? Santo. Vi and santo, right? So this slur just means that we have to look here and see when we're actually using it, right? So if we go over to, let's say we're on palatory, right? Let's say we click on this slur, go to properties, and over here in style, I can change how the slur looks. So I could go click on style, and then I could change it back to a normal slur if I wanted. I can make it lined. I could even make it into dots if I wanted to, right? But I usually use it on the first line. That way it's visible, and also so that way if I print it out, it comes out, right? It prints out properly. So that's pretty much the basics of the markings that I commonly use. I felt that this was a good song to use it for since I used most of them, right? Or actually I used all the ones that I presented. So one more thing. If you notice, I have all the notes here below the staff. That's because this is the actual pitch that they should be performed at, right? That they should be sung at. The singer needs to sing these exact notes, and that's why they're below the staff, right? But let's say someone was like, oh, I want it to be neater, so I'm gonna make the B flat up here instead on the staff. I want all the notes to be on the staff. If a choral person, like let's say a choir director is directing the mariachi as well now, or let's say you as a choir person or a voice person accepted a mariachi job, right, as a teacher, and you see this, you're gonna sing it based on the treble clef at this. You're gonna want to do that if you're a voice person. You're gonna sing it at this range. But when in actuality the arranger wanted it to be down here, right? So you as an arranger, or you transcribing this music, right? If you want this on the staff, you need to go over here to the treble clef, right? And you need to go clefs, right? And you need to use this one with the 8 underneath it. This means whatever's here is going to be sung an octave lower, right? You noticed how all the notes changed and they shifted upwards onto the staff? You're just going to use this one, and it's going to put them all on the staff. And now the whoever is teaching this, like let's say it's a voice person or whoever's performing this, let's say you invited a classical singer to sing with you. Now they're gonna know, okay, I see this 8, that means that I'm gonna sing this the octave lower, the way that the arranger intended it for it to be. So you just need to kind of think of that whenever you're writing in the voice part, right? It's an important thing to note. As far as this video, that's pretty much it. I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope y'all learned something. If there's something that I wasn't clear about, go ahead and feel free to contact me, whether it be in the comment section or my email. Thank you very much once again. I hope y'all enjoyed.